you rode a hydration pack that was built into the jersey, which I looked at and I thought, oh, well, that's next level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I seen Lachlan rode a hydration pack that was built into the front of the jersey, which, if anyone's watching World Tour, you're seeing riders recently taking off their gilet and instead of putting it in their back pocket, they're stuffing it down the front of their jersey to close off that gap in the front, which is meant to be a lot faster. Was that something you guys didn't think of, or was there a reason you went for it behind?
Yeah, so I was running Rule 28's new gravel suit, and they're not the only company to come out with this. Keegan and Lachlan are sponsored by Rafa, and they had basically the same idea. As far as why we didn't put it in the front, I don't know. You'd have to ask Rule 28 about that. I did put a soft flask bottle in the front of my jersey, so I did actually have something there trying to take up the space, but I think we can give it to Lachlan for really thinking outside the box with actually putting a bladder down the front. That was probably the most Aero solution.
It seems really uncomfortable. Like if you think about where the human body, like how we carry load, like for as long as there's been conflict, you've seen military guys going into conflicts carrying load on their back. Mm-hmm. Very few people have elected to carry load on their chest.
Yeah.
That seems like not a nice place to carry it.
Yeah, I would imagine, although the human body naturally carries excess weight on the stomach, so maybe it's not terrible.
Yeah, true. Have you tested, obviously your Rule 28 went into a lot of testing for it, but have you seen data on hydration pack built into the skin suit as opposed to the external pack?
Yeah, so unfortunately when I went to the wind tunnel with Silka, I did not have the prototype gravel suit yet to test. That would have been a great thing to test. If I had the prototype at the time that we went to the wind tunnel, I absolutely would have tested it, but they didn't have it ready by that point.
Interesting. And I know when we talked, we're kind of jumping back to the tire thing, but when we talked last time, I know you were riding factor bikes and your tires were basically, I think you were running the same tires as me, the 47 Specialized Pathfinders, which was around the maximum tire clearance on that frame. You've moved over to a different bike felt. Was that one of the catalysts for experimenting with this wider tire setup?
Yeah, no doubt. So I think the max tire clearance on the Factor Ostro Gravel was 45 millimeters. I ran 47 millimeter Pathfinders. I actually had to cut the side knobs off to make sure.
Yeah, I'm on 47s and it's like, yeah, they're rubbing.
Yeah, it's close. So yeah, and then I made the switch over to felt, and they had a claimed max tire clearance of 50, which I was very excited about. And when that frame showed up, the very first thing I did was I had a wheel mounted with 2.1 mountain bike tires on it, and I immediately put that wheel in the frame to make sure it would clear. It did clear, and I was like, okay, we're in different territory now. Like there's a lot we can do with this bike. That was a very happy day for me, and my head was already spinning with ideas about what we could do with this bike if we could put mountain bike tires on it. And I really do think that is the future of a gravel race bike. A gravel race bike needs to be able to fit mountain bike tires on it, in my opinion.
What else did you learn when you went to the wind tunnel with Josh from Silka?
Yeah, let's see. We tested wheels, tires. Interesting thing on the wheels is that I think a lot of people assume, or maybe there's been some testing previously, that an Aero wheel at a certain point doesn't make a difference with a wide tire because, Josh actually coined the term the rule of 105, where the rim needs to be ever so slightly wider than the tire for optimal aerodynamics. And, if you've got a 45 mil tire on a rim that's, 30 mil wide, that's a lot wider. It's probably not doing anything aerodynamically. And at least in our testing, that was just not the case. Even with a 53 millimeter mountain bike tire, the Aero wheel was helping, and pretty significantly. Probably not as significantly as if we were testing road tires, because again, with the rule of 105, that would have been optimal aerodynamics, but there was savings to be had even with the widest tire option for deep wheels.
When I talk to the World Tour aerodynamicists, they're all talking about, especially around time trials, they're all talking about the combination. Like, there's no fastest tire or wheel. There's a fastest tire or wheel for that frame, and it's the combination of the two. I don't hear that so much in gravel land. I hear people talking in absolutes. This is a faster tire. This is a faster wheel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think gravel just hasn't gotten to that. Like, we haven't caught up to that point yet. I think that's probably still the case, but gravel's just not there yet.
What about bars? I know this is like the historic debate on how narrow we can go with bars. What did you learn around bars? And where's the trade-off with, how do you think about approaching that trade-off with, okay, a 36 is more aerodynamic, but is there a point where you feel like you're sacrificing comfort and control?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, we tested 3 different bars. All of them are probably narrower than what 99.9% of gravel racers actually use. But it's what I was interested in. So the bars that I was using were Envy's Aero bars that are 36 mil wide. And then I also had a pair of Aero Coach bars that were 32 mil wide, or 32 centimeters wide. Sorry.
Is that the Ornex ones?
I can't remember the model off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know they have like one ergonomically designed bar, which they've wild aero claims about, but they're all internal testing.
Yeah. And then we had a Toot Engineering Track Racing bar, and I can't remember the width off the top of my head, but it was ridiculously narrow. I mean, it was so narrow that my hands were almost touching each other.
Just about fit your Garmin on there.
Yeah. So, a ridiculously narrow track racing bar, completely impractical for actual gravel racing, but we wanted to see if there was a difference. Interestingly enough, when I went from the 36 centimeter wide Envy bar to the 32 centimeter wide Aero Coach bar, I actually got slower. And I think what Josh Portner told me is that when I went to that narrower bar, my elbows came out a little bit more than when I was on the wider bar. So, I guess with everything, it depends. And that's what Josh Portner loves to say, is it depends. You can go to a narrower bar, but if that narrower bar is putting you in a position where your elbows are coming out and it's actually hard to stay in that aerodynamic position, it might not actually be faster.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please click up here. There's another video I know that you're absolutely going to love. Click over here and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our amazing upcoming guests.